And remind me your name again?
Mike.
Mike.
Yeah. The guy I worked with last year, Brad, he swears he saw a Bigfoot out, let's see, kind of in the Colton area.
Colton area?
Yeah.
Huh. How long ago was that?
I think he was in grade school, so probably 40 years ago.
Okay. And this is the guy you worked with?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't work with him anymore?
No, I changed jobs last June.
Okay. So he was just randomly telling you about the story, or you brought it up?
He likes to talk about it.
Really? Huh. It must have been pretty life changing if he's still wanting to talk about it to this, like, what, 40 years later?
Right.
How did his story go?
Uh, he was out in the back 40 and heard something and saw the Bigfoot. Of course, he said his father didn't believe him.
Okay. And that's over in Colton, Oregon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually live over by there. I'm kind of over in that like Beaver Creek area, almost Malino.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out there all the time looking for footprints and stuff. And so far, just seen a lot of deer. I think I heard a mountain lion out there one morning at like 1 a.m. It was a pretty loud, like, "Roar, roar," and looked on YouTube for all kinds of like cougar noises, and I could not find anything that matched it. But then I came across one cougar trail cam, and it was just dead on the same noise. So I go, okay, that's got to be it. Here's the actual footage of the cougar noise that I recorded at 1 a.m. I'll add it to the video here so you can hear it. So he just said that he just saw the Bigfoot. Did he tell you anything else about the story?
Well, quite a bit. I don't remember exactly how it went, other than the fact that they did find some broken barbed wire that it went through. And,
Broken barbed wire?
yeah, fencing.
Like it was ripped?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess it must have been startled and ran through it or something like that. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, from what I've heard, they're pretty powerful animals. I had a friend that grew up in he grew up in Oregon, Alaska, and Hawaii. And he was saying when his dad was working in Alaska up on the fishing boats that they saw some figure going across the bank at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they had all their crab traps out there, and it was like a really big figure. When they went out there in the morning, all the crab traps, something took them and like bent them and like broke them all.
Whoa.
And it had to have been something pretty powerful. And he said all the natives up there kept him pretty secret, that they all knew about him. And it's like a whole thing up there. So yeah, I guess Alaska's got quite a bit of history with that too. So your coworker was just kind of going around and telling everybody, and did anyone like believe him, or are they kind of getting annoyed with him?
You know, and he's not, let's see, there was, 25, 30 years ago, a fishing guide that I knew was a pretty serious guy, and he swears that he saw one when he was out hunting. So I don't know.
A fishing guide?
Yeah.
Really? And how'd you meet him?
Well, he's a well-known fishing guide. He was on quite a few of the shows, fishing shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
Probably better not say any names.
Nope, that's all right. Absolutely, that's totally fine. Did he say, was it also kind of like he saw a Bigfoot on the coastline or the shoreline, or was there any detail there?
I think he was up in the hills up in Washington deer hunting.
Okay.
Saw it up on a mountain.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard a few people say. They just kind of see it sort of up in the mountain. There's this one story on YouTube, and it's these Boy Scouts, and they come across like this giant nest. And I guess a lot of people have found these giant nests, and what's interesting is if you compare it to some gorilla nests, they're actually really similar, like from other countries. Like I think gorillas, a lot of the big ones, like maybe live over in like say Africa. So if you Google image those and look at the nests that they found here in North America, it's wild how they're super similar. Anyways, so they're looking at this nest, and this is down in California. I think probably about 10 years or so ago. And they look up on this really tall mountain, and they see this tall figure. And to me, it was almost kind of shaped, kind of like the Grinch almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like they have like a hunchback neck and kind of a cone head from some of the video I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they look up on top of the hill, and this tall figure's shaking his hands at them. And I mean, this is high up. I mean, think about trying to hike up South Sister, which I've done before. It took me like 3 or 4 hours to get that high up. So it's not like they can just run right up there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, they had somebody go up there later and compare. And I think the man that went up there was like 6 foot tall. And they compared to the height of this figure, and they said the figure was about 9 feet tall, at least.
Huh.
So yeah, so that's kind of an interesting. And so these are the stories that I originally heard about 10 years ago that kind of got me going, okay.
Seems to me as many stories that you hear, somebody would have shot one.
That's what I've thought. Yeah, like there'd be some kind of evidence or,
Right.
Something that would be there. But now you got all these people saying now that they think he's paranormal, which I'm kind of going, okay, so you're saying he's real. Now you're trying to say he can do this interdimensional stuff. I'm not saying I don't believe that, but I'd like to hear more stories about that. One lady was talking on a podcast about how she's seen him, and it was almost like he turned invisible, and you could see him kind of moving through the trees and the brushes, but you can like actually see him after a while. A few kind of odd stories like that.
Right.
So, and I'm not like a physicist or anything, so I don't know what's actually capable out in our universe physically of happening. But if there's some other stuff, dimension stuff like that going on, it'd be kind of fascinating to learn about it. But yeah, I mean, Estacada historically has been kind of the hub of where there's been so many sightings. I take 211 into work every morning, and I always have my dash cam rolling and kind of go, okay, am I going to see anything today? And so far I haven't, but there was one evening I was driving home, and there was nobody in front of me, like no cars coming the other way, and it's dark out, but it was probably about 6 in the evening going home, and out of nowhere this giant rock just comes flying out of the cliff and just like hits my windshield. It was really loud.
Wow.
And I've had rocks hit my windshield from other vehicles on the freeway, and it was probably twice as loud as that. So, and I was just telling this forest ranger about it last week, and he goes, oh yeah, I've been up in the forest for a long time, I've never seen anything. And basically he had that happen to him too. He says rocks fly off all the time. So I go, okay, so it could be nothing, could have been something. But I go, that whole territory up there on 211, it just, I don't know, it just kind of eerie to me. It has really, Bigfoot vibes to me. He goes, yeah, I actually kind of feel that way too. So, and he said they get Bigfoot hunters all the time up there in these local forests. And so far they haven't. He said that he hasn't heard of them finding a whole lot, but they're definitely looking. Do you have any other friends that have tried to go like looking at all in the past up here?
No.
No, okay. Or heard any other stories at all?
Not that I've heard.
Okay. I heard when they had the fires up here, there was some chatter about that. Kind of like, I don't know. They were saying that they shut down the forest and had the firefighters kind of hold back, and this one guy's telling me, oh yeah, they're taking all these like body bags out of the forest and this and that. I go, really? Yeah, the lady at the store said that. I go, huh? Okay. So I asked the firefighter last week about that, and he goes, yeah, no, they had these unmarked government vehicles going up there, and they were just doing like power line restoration. I go, okay, so that could be where the confusion might have come from. But you start asking, you start getting answers, I guess. I could see where that could look like they're going in there. But yeah, I guess back in the day when Mount St. Helens blew, there's quite a lot of wild stories about that, though. The military going in and like supposedly finding Bigfoots in there and actually helping them. So that's why at first I thought, oh, is it kind of like the Mount St. Helens, wildfire story? But yeah, that's kind of all I know so far. But I'm kind of more interested personally in interviewing people and hearing their stories than going out there and looking for them myself. Because it sounds like a lot of people say, well, he just kind of chooses you. If he wants to be seen, he'll be seen. If not, you're not going to see him. So I feel like my best luck would be seeing him in the morning on the way to work, I guess. Drinking my coffee and go, oh, there he is. Well, thank you for hanging out with my podcast.
Yeah.
Nice to have you on, Mike. I appreciate you.
You bet.